Hello class. We're going to show you a few things what you can do with the remainder or with synthetic division. The two things that we're going to look at today are the remainder and the factor theorem. So we're going to apply those to polynomial functions. So let's start with the remainder theorem. So the remainder theorem says that if a polynomial is divided by x minus c, then the remainder is f of c. So if I want to find f of 2, I'm going to divide it by x minus 2, and so that 2 goes in the box. And we're going to just do synthetic division. So I'm going to put down all of these coefficients. X cubed is 1, then negative 4, and 5, and 3. Drop the 1. 1 times 2 is 2. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. 5 plus negative 4 is 1. 1 times 2 is 2. And 3 times 2, or plus 2, is 5. And this is the remainder. So I can state that f of 2 is equal to 5. Now you could do it just to check. X cubed is 2 cubed minus 4 times 2 squared plus 5 times 2 plus 3. So that's 8. And that's 4 times 4 is minus 16 plus 10 plus 3. So we have negative 8 plus 10 is 2 plus 3 is 5. So it does work, but you don't have, since we know it works, we don't have to do that every single time. Let's show you another one. I can get the paper to move. So this time I want to find f of negative 4. So that's going to go in the box. And my coefficients are going to be 3, 4, negative 5, and 3. So I'll drop the 3. And I'm going to take 3 times negative 4. And that gives me negative 12. Add 4. That's negative 8. Multiply that to negative 4. I get 32. Negative 5 plus 32 is 27. 27 times negative 4 is negative 108. And negative 108 plus 3 is negative 105. So f of negative 4 is negative 105. The factor theorem, we're still going to use synthetic division, but this time if x minus c is a factor of it, that means that when you find f of c, it's going to equal 0. If we know that, then we can find the rest of the zeros by, especially when we have a cubic function, by factoring the rest of that. So it tells me on this one that 3 is a factor of this polynomial. So 2, negative 3, negative 11, and 6. So I'll do synthetic division. Drop that 2. 2 times 3 is 6. Negative 3 plus 6 is 3. 3 plus 3 is 9. Negative 11 plus 9 is negative 2. And negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. So that gives me a remainder of 0. So this polynomial is 2x squared plus 3x minus 2. And if I want to find the rest of the zeros, I set that equal to 0. And I can factor this 2x and x. And I'll have a 2 here and a negative 1 here, and set that equal to 0. So each of those factors is equal to 0. So on this one we have 2x equals 1, and x equals then 1/2. On this one, x equals negative 2. And it already told me that 3 is a 0, so x is equal to 3. These are the 3 zeros of that polynomial. Let's try the next one. This time they told us that x plus 1 is a factor. That means I'm going to take negative 1, put it in the box. For my synthetic division, our coefficients are 1, negative 2, negative 1, and 2. I'll drop the 1. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Negative, when you add that, you get negative 3. Multiply to negative 1, you get 3. This gives you 2, and that gives you negative 2, so I have 0 for a remainder. That's going to leave me with x squared minus 3x plus 2. If I set that equal to 0, then I can factor that x plus, I'm sorry, not plus, minus 1, and x minus 2 is equal to 0. So I have x is equal to 1 for this one, x is equal to 2 for that one, and this one is x is equal to negative 1. So those are my factors, or my zeros. Let's do one more example. This time it tells me that negative 1 is a 0. And let's write down those coefficients. We've got 15 and 14 and negative 3 and negative 2. I'll drop that 15. And when I multiply it to negative 1, I get negative 15. Add that to 14, and I get negative 1. Negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. A negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2, and that leaves me with 0 as a remainder. So I get 15x squared minus x minus 2. If I set that equal to 0, I can factor that. That's 3x and 5x. And that would give me, I put a 2 here and a 1 here. That's 6. So that gets negative, that gets the positive. So 3x plus 1 equals 0. So x is equal to negative 1/3. 5x minus 2 equals 0. So x is equal to 2/5. So my zeros are going to be that negative 1, negative 1/3, and a positive 2/5.